What's good, everyone? I'm Venomous Stare, back with more StarCraft 2 action, and what is this? An early pull from a top-tier European Zerg. It is Serral in the top left of this disgustingly old, overplayed map. I remember this map is so old and got so many games. This is like the Heart of the Swarm version of Daybreak, this map, Belshire. And then after after everyone got tired of this map because it was in the pool for 6 months too long, they brought it back. I don't know why they did it, but it's a pretty standard map. Like, you got a pretty obnoxiously wide choke here, and I think that might be why Serral went for this pool first, because oftentimes if Protoss does try to fast expand here, the choke is just so big. In pro play, you just kind of assume that, well, you know, the Zerg's probably gonna go hatchery first and then take a gas, so I'll be safe to just make my gateway, make my nexus, you know, maybe take a gas. We already see PiLiPiLi has his gas. That'll help him tech quickly. But some lings are on the way for Serral, and this build that Serral did, this pull first, gasless expand with some ling pressure, reminds me a lot of a really good ZVZ build that used to be used in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. Since we are in a Heart of the Swarm era map, I thought that would be worth pointing out. Essentially, the build was just like a gasless tin pool where you built 6 bands, but then the drone count would allow you to get a pretty quick expo and then go into your queen, and then also have a nice little ability to cheese. And that's what we see Serral's doing, so let's just jump to PiLiPiLi's vision. Oh, shit. My pylon's dead. So now he's supply blocked, and this building is not making what it should be making because he's supply blocked, and it's unpowered. So double whammy. He's just going to have to run into the main here. So what does PiLiPiLi do? Well, he has to wait for Mothership Core. Once he gets the Mothership Core, he can overcharge, but he'll try to do some micro here. Nice stack there by PiLiPiLi. Oh my goodness. So essentially what he's doing is just stacking onto the mineral fields by clicking, spam right clicking onto the mineral patches, and then just A-moving. So the Zerg kills 5 workers there, so great move by the Zerg. Now it is worth noting that, yeah, they're about even. And I honestly think that even though Serral was annoying and delayed this tech and what have you, I think that if he had been a little bit more obnoxious, he could have delayed PiLiPiLi a little more. But here's the crux of the issue is the Zerg is really on a timer here with this Mothership Core. Serral knew that as soon as it came out, it would probably be able to chase the lings away, especially with this pylon. So Serral kind of forced his hands and went in with the lings, but PiLiPiLi did a good job of stacking his workers, which essentially puts them into a spot about like this big, and then after they were all stacked on top of the Zerglings, he A-moved them, so then they all expanded. Now, if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, if you're very confused, essentially the worker AI is a little bit different in StarCraft 2, as we see Serral sees the Stargate plain as day, and PiLiPiLi is known as not only a Stargate player, but a guy who really likes mass air. So I'm sure that was nice to see from Serral that PiLiPiLi's not doing something completely crazy. Oracle on the way here for Pili, who has beautiful saturation in his main. So what I was talking about with workers, another pylon going in the wall, is if you have a worker selected and right click onto a mineral patch, the worker is pretty much going to get there unless there's a hard wall in. Example, say I'm Serral in this game, right? And I have a drone, and say this is a zealot, not an adept, but it's in the same position on hold. Notice that it's on hold over here. If I right click my drone onto the mineral patch, the drone, because of the drone AI, as you see PiLiPiLi moving out to take a pretty quick third, probably around 445, the drone will just move through the unit despite the fact that it's on hold position, because whenever you right click a mineral patch with the worker, it's just like bound to determined to get there unless there's like a hard wall in. When I say hard wall in, imagine Terran with like a depot, a barracks, and a depot. Like nothing can get by. That's a hard wall in. As opposed to like a soft wall in like what Protoss does, where they have one unit on hold position on the wall. Standard stuff so far from Serral. He's teching into melee upgrades, which means that we'll probably see quite a few lings here as Zerglings attack exceptionally quickly, which of course means that they synergize very well with upgrades. The faster a unit attacks, the better it does with attack upgrades. This also applies for even more so with units that attack twice, like the Phoenix, like the Liberator, because essentially what that means is the attack upgrade applies twice. Phoenix is scouting out here for OVs, great job, and we see that Serral wants to get some scouting intel. He wants to find out when the third base, oh, he already knows when the third base is. Great stuff there from Serral. One thing I've noticed about Serral is he consistently scouts Protoss almost better than any Zerg I've seen. Pretty much the only Zerg player I've seen scout more consistently against Protoss is Dark, who pretty much does these ridiculous Overlord speed rush builds to get absurdly fast speed and just scout Protoss. So the Overseer is going to come in here and see that PiLiPiLi's going for the textbook, like, mass abusive error, pretty much like pure carrier. He's foregone Forge upgrades, he's, foregone Twilight, he's not going DT or Archon drop. In fact, he's not even really going like the standard 5 Phoenix macro into air. He's doing like the most cutthroat rush to carrier build you can do. Fast 3 base into 3 starport or 3 Stargate fleet beacon. So what is the Zerg response to this? Because quite honestly, if Protoss gets a 4th base established and really gets High Templar and Storm popping in their army, things can just get brutal as you see a pylon go down there. As PiLiPiLi wants to establish like a little pylon, maybe even some cannons between his natural and 3rd, because that's really where Serral is going to be pushing, because this focus of this map are these 2 ramps right here, and sometimes you see shit over here, but it's really easy to deal with. And because of the way that the Zerg spreads creep on this map, it's not really conducive to run shit all the way over here, because you don't ever really take this base. So here we go. Big attack, Hydroling Bane. So how does this matchup work? What do we do when Protoss goes mass air? Well, if you don't want to fight him in the late game, sometimes you just have to do a massive Hydroling Bane attack in the mid game. And that's what Serral's going for. Notice he does not have an infestation pit, so he's not going to be teching to Hive anytime soon. Revelation goes down and sees the Hydras for all the good it'll do him. PiLiPiLi only on 3 gates. Remember, Adepts do bonus damage to light units, so Adepts actually are very good against Hydras. But off of 3 Stargates, PiLiPiLi doesn't have a lot of ability to create, mass gates. Pure Hydra coming here from Serral. This mid-game focused attack really needs to do damage here for the Zerg. Lings run up onto Adepts, and +1 Lings against 0/0 Adepts with Hydra support is incredibly good. Hydra Ling with melee upgrades is actually exactly what you want versus an unupgraded Warp Gate based army. And it is a Warp Gate based army when there are this few air units out. And PiLiPiLi is in a position where he was just trying to rush to carrier, but carriers really aren't that great until you have either a substantial supporting cast, which of course when you only have 3 gateways, no Twilight, no Forge, you can't really do, or a lot of other air units, which is what PiLiPiLi was trying to go for. And now he's saying, oh, I was floating a lot of minerals. And Serral's saying, oh, you're floating a lot of minerals. I guess you're going to lose now. So this is pretty common what we see here. A lot of times Protoss players who go for these multiple Stargate era styles will just either be broken before they can get a critical mass, or they get a critical mass and laugh the Zerg out of the game. 20 probes have gone down here, and PiLiPiLi loses his natural. He is in dire straits. He's about to lose game 1 of this best of 3. And Serral played this perfectly. He identified the composition and playstyle of PiLiPiLi and went for a massive mid-game attack that ensured that the Protoss player could not get to this insanely difficult to beat Protoss late-game army. And Serral's going to crush through here and walk forward with all these Hydralisks, which do have +1 upgrade and the speed. All these Stargates power down, and ladies and gentlemen, PiLiPiLi calls it. If you like that, make sure you subscribe for more. Tell your newbie friends about my channel so they can learn more about the game. And tell your newbie friends about StarCraft if they're wasting their time playing League of Legends or some other game. Tell them about the good word of StarCraft, because this really is one of the best games out there right now. One of the best games ever made. Subscribe for more.